music, motivation, and positively obnoxious. This is the Tony Gebhard Show. Hey guys, it's Tony back with the Tony Gebhard Show. It's been a little while since we've done actually a feature. Super cool to see all of you. And today I've got a friend of mine, a childhood friend, who has been working their tail off in the tech space and accessibility space. I'm really excited to introduce her. This is Taylor Arndt. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome. Super excited to be here watching the show since it started, and I'm glad that I could be on here finally.
Oh, you listen to the podcast. That's cool. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
I do.
That's awesome. Cool.
I do.
Well, awesome. Well, it's great to have you aboard. Things have been changing in our technology space, and I have been super delighted to watch you and Michael sort of take that piece of the pie and say, how can we be a part of this? And we're going to talk a little bit about your app, Perspective Intelligence, as well as some of your upbringing in your tech. So without further ado, let's just start from the beginning. So you grew up in Michigan, as did I. Love that. And being the only disabled individual in your family, how do you feel like that shaped you to becoming the person that you are today?
I feel like it shaped me because it made me more determined, and it made me be like, okay, I'm going to be treated like everybody else, so I better figure it out, basically. Long story short, I better work as hard, I better do everything to the caliber that my parents and siblings expect.
Sure. And, it was, I think I read around, age 14 is when you really started to engage with technology. What was that moment where you realized, technology was sort of the essence of your calling?
That's a good question. And so what I really think about that is that, by that point, I was like, I got to do something, otherwise I'm not going to be successful. So I started getting into tech to solve my own problems, from inaccessible materials in school to not being able to get access to different programs, and so I could script them, to even making things more accessible for me. It all really started from there. And then, of course, it improved, when I saw other developers like Michael. I'm like, well, if he could do it, I could do it.
Absolutely. And you started coding when you were 14, and that's a great age to really get into something as sophisticated as programming. How many languages do you know?
Oh, TS, Swift, PHP, Python. I probably know like 4 or 5.
Good for you. Valuable, very valuable assets to have in your toolbox. That's very good. And without rushing too far ahead, when did you really start putting yourself out there to make that impact, right? You started at 14 with coding and, working to understand what accessibility means and how you can actually impact it with the people around you. But when was that point that you realized, okay, this is something I actually want to do professionally?
I think when I was 18, I started working in accessibility at universities. I'm like, okay, I could do this, right? I'm like, let me just keep going. And then, of course, 2020, I lost that job because of COVID. And I'm like, okay, I got to make my own business. And that's when I really started putting myself out there.
And when you were in college had told you that they don't have the resources to support you.
They did. Yeah. They really did.
And how did you take that as a form of determination? Because a lot of people, would take that in insecurity, right? But it seems like you took that more as oh, really? You tell me that?
Yeah, really? Right. Yeah, don't challenge me. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll create my own business. I will figure out my own way, and that's going to be how this is going to work. And you're going to like it or you're not going to.
That's amazing. Something I admire so much about you is you're very open about being neurodivergent.
Oh, yes.
And ADHD.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm an ADHD fella myself. But how do you feel like, since you bring it to light, all right, because not a lot of people like to talk about neurodivergent or autism or, different varying cognitive conditions, and what makes it special or important to you?
I need to talk about it because I really didn't even know I had any of this stuff until 2022 when I was in Texas. So I'm like, nobody really talks about this. So I'm like, I need to. And it helps shape some of my decisions and shape some of the things that I do online. Because,
Mm.
yes, I could just take the simpler way out and, not really do a whole lot of stuff. But no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to make an impact.
Absolutely, you are 100%. I love that because, ultimately we see that so much across our disability space, right? Some people will have multiple disabilities, but, folks sometimes will go, there's one of two different directions, right? It's the, backwards kind of compatible, I don't know how to process this. There's no help for me, nobody loves me. But then there's the other side of that coin, right? Where I feel like you are, where you say, look, I know I'm different. I've got this. This is a situation. How can I use it to my advantage?
Yeah, basically that's what I do.
And that's powerful. I mean, it's a testament to resilience and, and something that the Tony Gebhard Show certainly stands upon. So really, really just inspiring to showcase that. And just congratulations on being able to find security and comfort in it as well.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's, a lot of people in my life have helped with that, but it's great.
Good. That's amazing. So the elephant in the room today is perspective intelligence. So for listeners who don't know what perspective intelligence is or what it does, let's crack the coconut. What is it?
Yeah, so Perspective Intelligence is a on-device AI app, meaning it is all on your device. So unlike ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or any of the others, the data that you send, so if you send a message that says hi, normally in another application, it will go up to a data center somewhere across the country or across the world, then it gets processed, then it gets sent to your device, and then the AI responds and says, how can I help you or whatever. Well, our app does not do that. So it goes from you, and then the AI is on your device. So no internet connection is required. Nothing is required. All staying on your device. Your data is not going anywhere else. Privacy and other things. But it's also good for offline use. And so that's the defining factors that our app will work no matter where you are. If you have a low cell signal or whatever, or if the data centers are down, it doesn't matter.
I
The
feel
other
like
thing
that's.
about our
Sorry. No, continue. I apologize.
and that's really good. And it was really, this technology, the on-device AI technology is emerging, right? It's not fully studied just like the cloud stuff. The cloud stuff, people have got that down, right? But there's a lot of nuances to on-device AI that has not really been covered. And so we're really paving the pathway for on-device AI at Techopolis, which is where I work. And we're really trying to make sure that people can use AI on their phones and, on their other devices.
And let's
So that's one part.
So talk about Techopolis really quick, and that's your business, is that right?
Actually, no. AI
Okay.
thinks it is sometimes, but no. Actually, I am the chief operations officer. I got tired of running businesses in 2022. I couldn't do it anymore. I need to work for somebody else. So
I
Michael
understand.
Michael has the pleasure of running the business. And I am the chief operations officer.
Okay, fantastic.
So I work for somebody. I don't have to worry about all the, nonsense that running a business entails. I just go ahead and I work for Michael, and he's the business owner, and I'm an employee. And really, there's only two of us. There are contractors that we have, but there's only two of us that are like full, employees / owner,
Incredible.
whatever. Yeah. So we do a lot of things. We have a lot of other apps in the store. We were the company that made like Pocket Braille or other things, and we also made things like Blind Bargains and ACB Link and others. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those were under Michael's name, and then now it's just Techopolis.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. We already kind of touched on the on-device differentiator, which I think is really the sparkling wine in the course at the moment with this app, right? Because when you really look at the space, it's a very competitive space.
Yes.
Right. There's already so many apps, right? And I'm only bringing this up because, I like a little controversy. So I always like to challenge entrepreneurs that come on to the podcast, and give them the space and an opportunity to really defend and define what their product does, and how it can benefit the blind and visually impaired in a very impactful way. And I think you've done just that by really outlining the on-device aspect, because right now, I think more than anything, that's the most important part. And you've cited some examples, being on an airplane with airplane mode and being able to use it to read a safety pamphlet in pretty intricate detail.
I did that when I was in Michigan. I think, I was going home from Florida because I think my parents were going to go home the next day, but I guess I had to go to work. I can't remember the whole scenario. We had a version of this app a little bit in 2019 when Michael was working on it, because Michael's been doing apps since 2011, and I've only been doing them since 2023, 2024. And so I've been testing it. I knew Michael since 2018. We met at an NFB convention in Orlando. And I knew about his apps. I've tested them forever. And I used an older version of the vision features and perspective intelligence to read that pamphlet.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It worked very well. And so, it is so cool. And the on-device AI features really make it plausible to do so many other use cases. And, it's a great playground to mess with AI on your phone. And unlimited. Yes, there's a subscription. We'll talk about that later. But, it's unlimited AI. You can't get better than that.
It's amazing. And you just shipped version 1.6 not too long ago with personal agents and tool agents and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, walk me through like one of those processes.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because Apple's actually reviewing 1.7 right now. But hopefully, by the time this podcast is out, hopefully Apple will have reviewed 1.7. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure. 1.6
was a monumental update for us. We introduced personal and tool agents. So I'll talk about that in a second here. So personal, of course, are agents that are like the built-in, right? So, or the agents that you can add. Sorry, I reversed them. So things like the built-in are, there's a guide agent that's like a tutorial. Again, these are ever evolving. If you actually go to our perspectiveintelligence.app site, you can actually see the prompts for those agents. And actually, speaking of that site, I built that myself, but I'll get into that later. So you can actually see the prompts for those agents, the built-in, the agents that are built into the system, the tool agents, that's what they're called. And then those actually, so you could do like at guide, tell me about this feature of the app or whatever, or it could just, auto route. And the other thing about those is that there's 3 of them, right? The personal guide, and then there's guide, writer, and code. Bleh, tongue-tied. And then the, guide helps with the app. The writer's like a good creative writer, and the coder does some basic code stuff. And these are all built in and free, so free users can use these to see what the agents are like. But the personal agents come into play when you're actually wanting to build your own agents, right? So I can build like a personal Substack writer that knows everything about how to write Substack posts, for example. And yes, I've done this. And because I'm on the all access plan, obviously. And it's really cool because you could build unlimited agents. And I really like it. And it will work on your iOS, iPad, or whatever device you have.
That's crazy. How does perspective intelligence impact the battery, right? Because when I first tried it, I think I tried version 1.4 on my iPhone 16, and my device was getting pretty warm, and I noticed a battery fluctuation. Is that something that you guys have identified as something to work out through the resources? Because goodness, I'm not a hardware expert by any means, but I would imagine messing with on-device AI requires a lot of fine-tuning and resource management.
Yeah. So on-device AI will make your phone warm. The reason for that is it's actually using the GPU, graphical process, unit, and it's also using the CPU, right? and the central processing unit. And it's also using sometimes what's called the NPU, neural processing.
Oh yeah.
And what that basically means is that your phone will get warm. Yes, battery will take a hit, potentially. But the reason that it's using those things is because it's actually using your device resources, right? So it's it's actually doing that. And so that's why the phone may be hot, right? It's not going to blow up. Somebody told me that the other day. It's like, my phone's going to blow up like a rocket. No. I'm going to set the record straight. It's not going to blow up like a rocket. It's just your phone's actually working. But nobody's seen these things before because all of our AI stuff is on the cloud. And so you don't have those effects on your phone. Right? Okay. So, yes, there's going to be battery drains. But the thing is, we're always working on it. But some of these actually is controlled by Apple. So we don't have full control of these things, but we are doing whatever we can.
Have you guys, now I know with Apple releasing the new iPhone 17 and recently the 17e, and most likely to release the new iPhone in September, have you guys had a chance to test the differences in how the app operates, like iPhone 16 to 17?
A little bit. So we don't have all those test devices because that's just really expensive.
Yeah, it is.
But what we do is we have like some beta testers or whatever who have older phones that help us. We have a Facebook group where people can write and get help and talk to each other about the app. And we sometimes ask people in the group, hey, you have this phone, can you tell us what the experience is like? Because we can't really get every phone in the book. That's just not practical. But yes, there are differences. What I will say is that the 17 Pro get better results and faster than the 16. And, 16E sometimes same thing because, that's like the cheaper phone. We don't have one of those personally just because, like I said, there's so many different devices to buy.
Sure.
We're looking at different things like that. But that will come in time. And so what we do right now is we use beta testers and we try to get stats and we try to see what we could do to make things better on older devices.
I love that. And speaking of older devices, you guys added Gemma 3 support for people on old iPhones, so they don't have to rely so much on the Apple AI hardware. Talk to me a little bit about that. How far back does the backwards compatibility for Perspective Intelligence go?
Good question. So Perspective Intelligence uses two frameworks. I'm going to get a little technical here and then I'll break it down.
Woohoo, let's go. Let's get geeky.
All right, so the first framework is called the Foundation Models. This is the framework that powers Apple Intelligence. If you've ever used Apple Intelligence, you use that model, right? And so Perspective Intelligence actually uses that as the main model. It's called the Foundation Models. It was released in iOS 26 in 2025. That's why everybody, we set that target in terms of you must have this OS because that's the minimum OS that the Foundation Models framework supports. So this runs on anything above the iPhone 15 Pro, okay? So even like the 16E and other things. And it runs on, Macs and iPads and things. And so if you've got Apple Intelligence, if it says like your device is ready for Apple Intelligence, or if it says like notification summarizing or whatever, chances are you have that model, right? If it helps you with different things on your phone. And Apple Intelligence is the best performing model. Why? Because Apple optimizes it for those phones, okay? That's why the battery drain may be a little less than if you use like the Gemma 3, or I'll get that, a little bit, but like Apple's models are more optimized.
Gotcha.
So that's something to know. It's heavily what's called quantized, meaning it's compressed, almost like you're putting it in a zip file.
Mm-hmm.
And it's meant to run on Apple's hardware. Okay. So that's something to know about that. And then you have another framework that we use called MLX. What this is Apple's framework. They made this. And it's basically for running machine learning models on a device. The key distinction here is that it does not use the NPU like the Foundation Models framework. And so, therefore, it's all using the GPU and other cores. And so, it's not as optimized and your phone may get warmer. Now, for MLX, what we've been told is that it can go up to down to the iPhone 12 and 13. We have verified that, but again, it all depends on the performance and how many things you have on your phone. And not just how many things you have on your phone, but like just, like how new or how many things you have open, I guess if that's the right word.
Sure.
And so MLX, yeah, is the worst one for that.
Okay. Amazing. So now I'm starting a new, God, I need to edit that. I probably won't, just for the sake of natural flow, because that's what people enjoy, is hearing me screw up every time.
Well, I screwed up too.
I know, I hear you. We're starting a new segment on the show called Hot Take. Since you are an experienced software engineer, I want to get your hot take. So here we go. Cue music.
Okay.
It's a hot take.
I'm going to throw a couple of terms at you, and I want you to give me your honest, unfiltered opinion, whether it be positive, negative, profanities allowed, whatever it is. I don't care. Okay? I want your hot take on this. Ready? Here we go.
Here we go.
Vibe coding.
All right. I got a lot of opinions on this, so I'll try to keep it simple. Vibe coding equals rushed coding and mess coding and sloppy coding. I have a whole thought about this, and honestly, I'm probably going to publish a Substack post. Apple has released a bunch of changes for vibe-coded apps. Really, vibe coding, if you don't know, is where you just paste in errors, you just don't look at the code, you just kind of go off the vibes. We do not do that at Techopolis. I'm putting the record straight. I'm making an official statement. We do not do vibe coding at Techopolis. We do partner coding, where we look at the code and we are like, oh, Claude, you did not do this correctly. You made this completely inaccessible. Yes, if you do vibe coding, you're probably going to get inaccessible stuff, so be warned. You've been told, people.
Oh.
So yeah, vibe coding, I do not like it.
I love your take on it. So you you do the same thing that I do, right? Because I love Claude. Claude is just, in my opinion, seems to be the top dog as far as.
Yeah. It is.
I'll use the word accurate lightly, but seems to be the most accurate with coding.
Yeah,
right?
It is. I just don't like all the box drawings in Claude code. They drive me nuts. You can't get rid of them on Mac, so FYI, I've tried.
Yeah, no, you can't.
It drives me nuts.
I hear you. All right, here we go. Next one. Hot take. Prompt engineering.
All right, so this one, you know what? The word has changed so many times. I've heard it sometimes called context engineering or other things, but yes, you need good prompt engineering or prompting skills to be able to get the most out of AI. In fact, right now, well, actually not right now, but like before this, sometimes I am like typing so fast or dictating so fast, I can't always create good prompts, and that's my huge problem. It's not because I don't know how, it's because I type too fast and I talk too fast and I'm super ADHD. So I'm actually making a prompt generator.
That was the most honest statement on this podcast I've ever heard.
So I'm making a prompt generator where it will use AI to help me write prompts. I just put in a bunch of messy output. There's 3 agents, a prompt generator that generates it, prompt supervisor that reviews it, and a prompt manager that gives me the final output and handles disputes between me and the AIs. And I'm writing this in Google AI Studio. They came out with a whole version. By the way, there will be a teardown on my Substack. If you guys don't know, sorry, we're going off the script. I have a series
there's no such thing as a script on this show.
I have a series called Taylor's Teardowns.
Taylor's Teardowns. We'll get a link in the description of that.
Taylor's Teardowns. I literally tear down anything. I talk about accessibility, usability, what I think. And I'm trying the new AI Studio from Google that just came out. It's a vibe coding platform from earlier, And they had one before, but this was a whole improved one. Long story short, there's a lot of issues. But anyway, I'm working on this prompt generator, and I like it. We'll see how far it goes. But it will use different AIs like Gemini or whatever to help make these prompts. I just dictate or type into it. And I could say, hey, I need to add the Copilot SDK to this application. It's a mobile app, whatever, and it will help turn it into prompts that Claude Code will use with the correct XML tags and things. Sure. Yes, there's a legit thing called prompt engineering.
Very good. Oh, I love that. And it's just so interesting, right? I've been asking so many people on LinkedIn and in my network, their opinions on these two terms, and the responses are so 50-50. You know, there is a noticeable divide in development right now when it comes to software engineers, right? Because I feel like you're on that optimistic side of artificial intelligence, and like, hey, we just need to use it to our advantage. We need to learn how to manipulate it. We need to learn how to engineer with it, right? And review, have that human intervention. And then there's the polar opposite, right? Where I asked a gentleman who works in the federal government his opinion of vibe coding, and without even a hesitation, he says it is the most. Let's see how I'm trying to think of like how much profanity I want to use here, because I don't want to copy exactly what he said, but he said it was the worst effing piece of slop that he's ever seen. And it's so interesting, just the difference of sides that developers are on right now with this. And you know, I'm kind of in the middle. But leaning a lot more towards optimist, because I'm not an experienced coder. I'm fine. Like in the past 2 to 3 years, I'm learning how to use Python, learning what to look for. You know, I'm always doing testing nonstop. And I made an NVDA add-on. I
saw that
with vibe coding. We won't get into that here because it'll be a different episode. And that was vibe coded, right? And I use the word vibe coded a little lightly, but you know, it was something that like, okay, now I can actually really talk to this AI, right? Give it exactly what I need it to know, and use some of my experience as a tech professional who knows how to work screen readers, who knows how to work Windows, who knows how to do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And it works. You know, it's just interesting to hear the different takes on all of this. So I appreciate your insight onto it, especially as a software engineer. You know, it's always really insightful.
Yeah, because I play with all this every day. You know, and think about this. Without AI, me and Michael would not be able to be as successful as we are as a company.
Yeah. Well,
let's bring
things home. So one more question before we skedoodle. So what's next for Perspective Intelligence and Techopolis, right? Where do you want to be a year from now, and what can the community expect to see? What are you guys dreaming about? Because that's what I like to ask developers and professionals that question. What are you dreaming about right now?
I want to address something before we get too deep in this, because people are asking us, are we going to add to the meta glasses? Yes, we are. But I want to put this in perspective. That way people understand, because I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but I don't feel like they fully understand. All these other apps are going to the meta glasses right now. That's great. But the problem with that right now is that it's very complicated. The test user has to enable developer mode, and it's not trivial. We like to do things correctly, not just because everybody else tells us that we need to. And so what I'm saying is, yes, we'll probably have meta glasses support in the next year so that our vision features can be used on meta glasses, right? That will be great. But right now, in the next month, probably not. I know others like ScribeMe and others are doing it. But again, I want to do this right, not make people have to go through developer mode and all these other loopholes just to get something working. So that is there. And then, of course, I want to be able to have a lot more users. We'll probably have a lot more like features, and you know, who knows when the new like S lady comes out. I'm not gonna say her name because you know what happened when I did. She'll go off, and I want to be able to like implement that whole thing and see what the new models are gonna be like. Because think about this: when Apple releases new models, intelligence gets smarter.
Taylor, thank you so much for taking some valuable time of yours to really showcase what Techopolis is doing. Congratulations on the launch of Perspective Intelligence. Congratulations with the feedback. I encourage listeners to try the app out, give feedback. It's a developer's best friend. Trust me. Feedback is a very important part. Yes. And yeah, Taylor, let's do this again in 6 months to a year. Just do a check-in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. And again, thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.